Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 31 of the CBL X's and O's podcast for season 2023. I've got Sammy Gazzo from the Mildura Heat joining me today as we review what was a sensational round 4 in the Northwest Conference. Hey, Sammy.
Yeah, g'day, Matty. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Like we said last week, it was only 9 games played across both men's and the women's conferences in the Northwest. Ladder's starting to shape up a little bit. You see a little bit of separation, I think, maybe some of the bottom sides, and there's that little competition in the middle and so forth with some teams. So we're halfway through. We're 4 down out of the 8 rounds. So, yeah, now we're starting to get to the pointy end, which is exciting.
We sure are. Let's just review. Let's start off with the men, and we'll start off with your team. Mildura travelled down to Kyneton and were able to walk out the door just a lazy 62-point winners.
Look, yeah, I don't know what to add to it. It was probably tough, I think, for Kyneton as well. It was a close, probably quarter and a half, and then Jordan Mangan actually went down with an injury. I shouldn't say that helped us in that sort of a way, but obviously losing their best player was a little bit to them. And, for us, to travel that way, we just wanted to make sure that we put our best foot forward, and however that looks, the scoreboard necessarily is irrelevant. I like to think at this point, you've got to play your standard and your style of basketball. So, look, how we win is how we win. The point 62 and yada, yada, yada. But, I'm happy to come away with the win. And it was good to get some minutes in some of the guys that probably don't see too much in some of the closer games.
So did Jordan just finish the game? And because he's got 17 points on the scorers list.
Mate, he started off well. And it was part of the discussion we were having was, how we adjust. So that's what I mean. He might have played, 15, 16 minutes, something of that nature, and he had 17 points. He was a tough guard. So, we had to make some adjustments. And as we were making those adjustments, he got injured. So, but yeah, hopefully he's okay. Obviously, we haven't heard too much up here, but we really do hope for a speedy recovery. And Ben Thompson, I'm pretty sure, was a young fella there. He got a bit of an opportunity to play, and he hit some tough shots and was playing well. So, kudos to the guys that stepped up. They had to play 2 games that weekend, and having their best player go down in the first game isn't easy. So, we appreciate their hospitality, and, we're thankful we got the win.
Well, shout out to Jordan. Hope he's back on the court this week and it's nothing too serious because looks like he's troubled you guys in the first half of basketball. So we really want him back in that CBL competition, troubling all the other teams as well.
Yeah,
let's have a look at the next game, which, Bacchus Marsh travelled to Castlemaine and just couldn't get the job done, going down by 5. And Trent Leach, shooting 24 for the Cannons is standing tall again for the Cannons, as we usually see.
Yeah, definitely. Trent he's one to watch for Castlemaine, which we know, and Josiah Pattinson, sorry, hopefully I've said it correctly, had a great game as well. So 20 points as well. They seem to be the difference. But yeah, 5 points. I mean, Bacchus Marsh, going there, it would be tough. It's tough to travel to Castlemaine and get a win out of there. So it seems like they were there for most of the time. And Zach Martinez was the elite scorer again with 21 points. So we travelled to Bacchus Marsh this week. So, we were watching that game a little closely just to see how things would go. But, there's a reason why Castlemaine are undefeated as well. They seem to be winning those close games when it matters, and that helps come final time.
It sure does. And, let's talk about Bendigo now. They travelled down to Cobblebank Stadium to take on Melton, and they had that disastrous road trip their last 2 games, and now they're back on the winners list, and that's what we asked for on the pod last week.
Yeah, definitely. We sort of expected that. They, having lost both games, they probably wouldn't have expected that on their last road trip. And then the bye. So you get to freshen up, but you also have that in the back of your mind thinking, we probably shouldn't have lost those games. So to go out to Melton, it seemed like they started really well. So they were probably ready to go. So Melton's a tough place to win, and Melton are a great club. So that's obviously their first loss for the season. But from memory, I don't think Isaac Murphy actually travelled with them on that Mildura Swan Hill double. So for him to come away with 18 points to support Lockyer Brian, who had 26, does seem to make a big difference for their team. But as for Melton, obviously, fall back, and Milan Savage led the scoring again with 19 and 14 apiece. So, Melton will have to make some adjustments coming into next week. I think they probably would have put that on the winners list, and Bendigo did what we asked them to do, exactly right.
And Sunday, Echuca travelled into Kyneton and walked out with 40, just under 40-point victors. And, we don't see Jordan Magnan in the top scorers that day. So, unfortunately, he must have had to have sat out the game. But you mentioned Ben Thompson before, a young guy. He got on the court again, got another opportunity and shot 12 points right behind Brendan McCarthy, who shot 17.
Yeah, I'm sure Echuca would have seen that as an opportunity. Obviously, Kyneton hadn't won a game next to Echuca, so one of them was going to come away with a win. So they saw that as an opportunity, having not played on the Saturday night, and they just seem to have come in and taken advantage of that. And again, Kyneton probably feeling it from Jordan not being there and having to back up from the Saturday night. So unfortunately, they still haven't won a game. They'll be working towards that and making adjustments how they can go on if Jordan's not back. But kudos to Echuca, to get there and get the win. I'd be happy to finally get one to start the season.
And Bacchus Marsh, their second game of the weekend, unfortunately, was another L. And, it wasn't the weekend they had hoped for, but, they had two equal leading scorers for the game, going down by 13 against Macedon Rangers.
Yeah, again, tough weekend. You probably don't want to lose two. Well, you don't lose any, of course, but on a double header, you don't really want to drop both. And unfortunately, that's just what's happened there. Tough Saturday night, losing by a couple, and then, losing to Macedon by, it's only 13 in the end. I think that the tough thing for them is as well, they started the weekend at fourth spot and probably in a confident sort of position, and then dropping two at this time of the season, dropping them down to sixth place is probably something that they'll be feeling. So, again, like I said, we've got them this week, so hopefully they're not too upset that they're going to take it out on us this weekend. But good on Macedon. Again, you got to take advantage where you can. If you're not playing on the Saturday night and you're playing on the Sunday, you want to go in there and try to utilise those fresh legs. And seems like they got the job done and they stay around that fourth spot mark.
Let's take a look at the ladder, and we've got Mildura on top and Castlemaine second. Both teams currently undefeated, playing 5 games for the season. Third is Melton with a 3-1 record, and fourth is Macedon, 4-2 record. So our top 4. Bendigo just sitting outside that top 4 with a 3-2 record, and unfortunately, I think it's going to be tough for Bacchus Marsh, Swan Hill, Maryborough, Echuca and Kyneton to actually, get up that ladder a little bit and closer to the top 4. But, me personally, I think we're halfway through the season. If you're not at above 50% in your win percentage at the moment, I think it's going to be tough to make finals. But, let's hope Bacchus Marsh can turn it around and potentially get back on that winners list and prove us wrong by making the top 4.
Yeah, like we discussed before, it probably just does, you've got to win obviously as well, but then you do rely on other games, this person winning and that person winning and them losing and so forth. So, it does make it a bit tougher, but, head up, there's still, half the games to be played. You want to put your best foot forward and get something from the season if you're not going to play finals. So, let's just make sure we keep getting some exciting basketball.
And let's move across to the women on Saturday night. The Mildura Heat, the ladies come in, walked out of Kyneton with a 2-point victory, which gave Kyneton their first loss for the season.
Yeah, I think for both teams, like I've said earlier, I think with our women's team, it is a bit of a personnel thing. We've had a lot of names come in and out available. It seems like it might have been that way with Kyneton as well. I think we did see one of the Mangan ladies not playing, if we're correct. And, it's just interesting. Indy Spratt and Ava are actually Year 12 students, I believe, and they're doing exams. So they were well and truly convinced to come down for the trip. It'll just be the day. Don't worry. You won't lose too much study. And they both, top scored. Indy had a great game, 29 points, and Ava with 14. So missing Alana Morello was a big thing for our women's team. So to have Indy there to well and truly take that on and do a really great job. I think she had 5 threes for the game. So she was a bit of a difference maker. And Kyneton, just short, that was a tight tussle through most of the game. We did see a lot of it, and really does seem like Alex Strawn and Michelle Fletcher really did try there. But 2 points is a tough way to lose, but it's their first loss. I mean, if you're going to lose, you do want to lose somewhere in the season, trying to get yourself ready for finals. So I'm sure they'll be ready to bounce back next week.
And then Maryborough travelled to Macedon, and both teams didn't have a win prior to this weekend, and Maryborough were able to get that first W for the season.
Yeah, they'd be wrapped with that, wouldn't they? Especially being away when you travel. you want to put your best foot forward. So, good on Maryborough getting their first win for the season. Faith McKenzie with 26 and Madison Egan really stand out with 20 points. For Macedon, it does seem like Adrienne Cameron is doing everything that she can. Hopefully I've said that correctly, her name, but 21 points there on the Saturday night. But, another loss for Macedon, and good on Maryborough off the donut.
And Bendigo went down to Melton in a 10-point game, and Ruby Murphy and Ella McLeod stood tall for the Thoroughbreds to drag them across the line.
Yeah, one of our podcast favourites, Poppy Blanche, didn't seem to have too good of a game. We don't know the ins and outs correctly, but I think she only finished up with 2 points. So maybe they've seen this, and maybe they've done a bit of scouting there, Melton, and put the clamps on her a little bit. And Lavinia Cox, I think she might have only had, maybe it was 11 or 13 points on the top of my head. But, yeah, kudos to Melton. They seem like one of the teams to beat. It is tough to beat Bendigo with their personnel, but it seemed like they held home court firm. And with Bendigo, it's interesting. 2 losses. Probably, wouldn't have picked that so early in the season, only halfway through most of the games. They've only lost 2. So it looks like the competition is lifted, and some of those top teams are really there to challenge Bendigo. They're not just going to let go of that championship.
That's certainly correct. And then, Sunday, Bacchus Marsh showed that they're going to be a contender this year by getting over Macedon Rangers. But, Layla Inglesias, 30 points. That's a pretty standout individual performance this weekend.
Yeah, it is. I think we say her name every week at this stage. So, but 30 points, yeah, obviously, cracker game she must have had there. And obviously the difference, when they're winning by 25 points. With Macedon, again, they were probably hoping to get one game this weekend. Bacchus Marsh are around that top 4 mark. But losing to Maryborough and Bacchus Marsh, they probably do see it as a missed opportunity. But again, Adrienne Cameron, like she did on the Saturday night, 21 points, consistent performer. Not that we want to put any pressure on any of her teammates, but, they're probably going to need a little bit more help to hopefully get one of those wins before the end of the season. But kudos to her. Seems to be, she's really giving it a crack.
We'll take a quick look at the ladder now, and we've got Melton sitting on top, followed closely by Kyneton, both teams with a 4-1 record. Third place, Bacchus Marsh sitting in there playing 4 games at a 3-1 record, and rounding out the top 4 is Bendigo with a 4-2 record. But they're not far behind is Mildura, sitting there with a 3-2 record. They're the 5 teams, I think, at the moment that will be battling for the top 4 spots. So it's still some movement to occur, I think, in that ladder. But, it's going to come down to the last couple of games of the season when a couple of these teams battle each other out, especially in round 8. We've got Swan Hill, Maryborough, and then Macedon on the bottom with no wins. But, like I said, it should be a cracker second half of the season as our 5 teams battle for a Final 4 spot.
Yeah, it's where it does seem like at the moment, just with, it is starting to separate a little bit with those 5 teams and the other 3 teams. I mean, you never know what happens. I mean, Swan Hill have only played 4 games, so they do have 6 to go, but it just makes it tough when you've only won that one game and you've lost so many, like you've said. So, it will be a cracker, and we like it nice and close. We want it to be interesting, so we'll see how the next 4 rounds pan out.
That's it. That's our review of the round 4 in the Northwest Conference, and look forward to jumping on a call later this week with you, Sammy, as we preview what will be round 5 and some spectacular basketball in the Northwest Conference.
Looking forward to it, Matty. Thanks again for your time.
All right. Stay tuned, guys. We'll catch you later in the week.